to have a melting pot of different people of different cultures there.
Because when there's a certain stereotype that's automatically put onto you, I don't mind educating anybody just as long as they're not playing stupid.
So man, you play guitar and bass. It's your main two instruments.
Yeah.
Who did you see on guitar that inspired you? What made you want to play guitar?
The first person I remember seeing at very early was Tito Jackson.
Tito?
Yeah.
The Jackson 5?
Yeah.
Tito?
Yeah, because very early, I remember the Jackson 5 movie was actually the first biopic I ever saw.
Okay.
So it would always air on certain times of the month and everything on TV, and you would always put it on TV. And that scene after Tito got got a whooping.
So you was inspired by Tito getting a beating?
No, I was inspired after.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, when you brought it up, I'm trying to wonder if you was inspired by the beating.
Yeah, after he got the beat.
Okay.
That's what, but then he picked up the guitar, and him and his brother started singing and everything. And later on, it continued on, and he had it was a nice R&B style.
Well, they were a great group.
Great.
They great group. Great group. So after seeing Tito,
yeah.
Now did you later study Tito?
Yeah. Well, I mainly studied each brother. I studied each brother and each role that they put in, each quality that they put in with the group, because of course with each group there's a certain identity that this person has, certain personality that this person has that, will add on to the character of the group, if that makes sense. Because with Tito, he was the cool one. With Michael, he was the cute.
What made Tito cool? I don't remember that.
It was mainly the way he came off, because of the stuff that
was he the oldest brother?
Nah, that was Jackie.
Okay, Jackie was old. Okay.
Jackie was the spokesman for the Jackson 5, because he was the most articulate.
Was Tito the one that in that movie, if I remember correctly, was he the one that got in a fight?
No, that was Jackie.
That was Jackie. Okay, all right.
He was the oldest to do everything.
Okay.
But okay, yeah, and then Michael, he was the cute, charismatic one. Marlon was actually the goofball of the whole family.
Okay.
And with Jermaine, he was more of the just the laid back person. That was the second hand of the Jackson 5, because he also sang lead to certain songs that Michael would have parts of too.
So that brings us to what we're going to talk about today. Does cultural representation matter to people in the way that we develop as people? Does it matter? And if it does, why does it matter?
I believe it matters to people. I believe it matters to everybody on this earth, one way or another. Specifically, for example, and the way it does, will lead to the example is that we all want to see a positive image of ourselves.
Okay.
One way or another. A lot of us black people, we take a lot of pride from looking at a person that looks like us, mainly because sometimes in certain places there will be the stereotypes that you'll see where they'll try to on certain movies or TV shows, they won't take that certain stereotype seriously, in a fact where they'll make it look bad and say, oh yeah, this is, and they'll make that person believe, oh, this is how.
So do you think because it's the forces that be that don't want to see, if we're going to talk in specific of foundational black Americans, don't want to see foundational black Americans in a positive light, keeping our esteem low and making us only think we could be that?
100%. I believe there's people that try to keep us in a box to a certain extent. When you look at the serious the abuser type movies. Not saying that there aren't some who do that, but not every one of us do that.
So basically, we don't see a positive image of. Okay, now let's go down. A positive image. Do we see? Is there a lot of positive image of black males, black females, black mothers, black fathers?
You'd have to go digging to see you'd have to go see digging to see how many good representations you can actually say offhand. You know.
Okay.
And then you have certain ones that are just comedies. So those are just like they're just being.
So I think does that then put us when we just see the ones that's just comedy? Do they just try to keep us in a box that we can just make people laugh and we don't get serious, or we're just the entertainment?
No, I don't think that. To a certain extent, you do have a point, but I think with certain things, I feel that when there is sort of like a comedy standpoint, we're making fun of this specific person's belief of what they think that they act.
Okay.
So by over exaggerating what they think about maybe an average black person, in the world, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's like using your beliefs but distorting it and turning and making fun of you in the long run.
So do you think because they don't have a lot of cultural representation of the African American family, the African American male, African American female, financial black Americans, that adds to the stereotypes of racism?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about that too? I actually think that plays a good part for us too.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the average Caucasian don't have to surround themselves with anyone of African descent.
Yeah.
They don't have to. It is what it is. They'll say somebody they work with, that's my friend.
Yeah.
But they never been to the person's house.
Never talked.
They never talk to them. They don't know what motivates them or anything like that. But they'll say, yeah, that's my African American friend. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, the African American, a successful African American or foundational black American, they study everybody. They can walk into a place and understand how to relate. I think what some people call code switch.
Yeah.
They can code switch whatever way they got a code switch. They can do that where you have a lot of Caucasian people that don't have to code switch. It is what it is.
They don't have to.
They don't have to. But then on the other hand too, we have Caucasian people that have grown up around African Americans, foundational black Americans, and you can sort of see them. They're not intimidated by it. Cool. They just cool. They cool white folk.
Yeah.
We would say. So when it comes to cultural representation, do you think that played a good part and a big part of you doing music?
Yeah, I think with me, I sort of needed to see a few examples of people that look like me in order for me to be like, okay, I could do this too, And of course, after that, after being motivated in that standpoint, I could look at other people that probably. That are probably white that I could look up to as well and see what they learned from people that look like me too. So that's another.
Oh, okay. So like, for example, some musicians that give acknowledgement to, like who? Like,
Eric Clapton gives a lot of acknowledgement to, Muddy Waters and B.B. King as well. And the Rolling Stones as well have given, Mick Jagger's given a lot of acknowledgement to James Brown, because he even said that he would try to sort of copy James Brown a little bit with some of the moves that he did, and they've studied a lot.
He's still doing it. Man, Mick ain't no joke. What kind of diet Mick on?
Oh well, I have no clue. Eggs, boiled eggs. But then he also said he studies Tina Turner and stuff too. So just seeing different images of people who look like me and other people who are of different images that look up to people that look like me too, shows how much we've built and how we're still building.
So it makes you believe. Does it make you? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it makes you believe that you can accomplish that too.
100%.
I know for me, when I started doing magic, I didn't see an African American person do magic, comedy, anything like that. I would say until I started when I was 12, a little younger. I didn't see anybody till like 16, 17. I remember a magazine. It was a Genie magazine, I believe, and it had Goldfinger and Dove on it, and I saw, man, he looks like me. He's a black guy that does magic. So I went deeper in studying that, and I think that played a big influence on later. Like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then later, I was able to even meet him and perform with him, work with him, and then I saw other magicians studying different black magicians throughout history.
Yeah.
Doing stuff. So that was good. I think for me, it's played a big part. Now, let me ask you: does representation also, does that help with the black family? Like seeing a positive male. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm thinking of stuff like Good Times.
Oh, I was just about to mention that.
Yeah, Good Times.
Because I've been seeing and I've been looking at old clips and everything on YouTube, even though it's on Hulu. I've been binge watching that too. There's been a lot of people in the comment section who really started to look at Good Times. Now that they're older, start to realize, James is a positive father figure to the family who kept, the family going and stable and everything. Now, even though he later on passed away within the show, they still had a father figure within the whole family dynamic because they had people that they knew that was around them. So I feel that if you see a positive image of anything that is related to the role that you take on in life, that could definitely motivate somebody. 100%.
So let me ask, do you think that society as a whole, maybe even Hollywood, do they reward the black person that's negative more? It almost seems like, I was just thinking about that because I was thinking about what came to mind was Denzel Washington won an award for his part in Training Day, but I love this part in Glory.
Mm-hmm.
I love his part in some other movies.
Yeah, other great movies.
But Training Day, he got an award being the bad guy. So do you think the forces that be want that negative?
Yeah, I mean they'll reward you for that. You'll still do the positive parts, but we're gonna reward you for the negative.
So let me ask: does that play then on rap music also? Because the hip hop person that does the crazy stuff, he gets all the news. We know more about not us, but the average person knows more about Tupac and the negative stuff about Tupac than the positive stuff that Tupac did.
Yeah,
especially the positive tracks and stuff like that.
They'll try to pin a lot of stuff. No, I think what it is with sort of what you mentioned. I think with people really today, as far as the buffoonery that they show in certain videos, there was a black guy wearing a wedding dress and putting a gun in his mouth. That's.
But you don't know. You say today, but if you look through history, you had that though. You had the negative image of the black male, and the black female. We got to go there too. You got the negative image of the black female and the male, where a lot of people gravitated to that. And I'm talking about back in the day.
Okay.
And so a lot of that still evolves to now.
Okay. Then I'll say this. Then I think I think with certain things that have gone on back then, sort of like what we explained before in other episodes of this whole podcast thing. I think what it is that we talk about the dark side of life, kind of like with the blues and everything. We speak about the dark side of life because the news reporters ain't doing it. I mean, in fact, Ice Cube, not Ice Cube. Well,
I think but I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I think the news does do it, but not in our perspective.
Okay, not in our perspective.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Then let me say this. I'm glad you say that. We speak in our perspective of what's going on around us. So for example, Ice-T, he said it many times before. We don't call it gangster rap. They call it gangster rap. We don't call it gangster rap. It's called reality rap. So,
okay, yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, because we're speaking about our lifestyle and the things that we relate to, and if we can't spread awareness to these different things and these different problems, how you expect for us to fix ourselves and fix the things around us? So, sort of like when the Jewish, they speak about the Holocaust to their families and, speak about it in social studies, you have to speak about that to end it, to sort of put it to an end.
So you saying gangster rap, that what they called it, you know,
reality.
And I call it the blues of today.
Yeah,
that's really what it is. It's the blues of today. But is that more cultural representation, like for that person that's trying to get out, or they're going through the same thing kind of thing? Because that's what Tupac did.
Yeah,
if you look at the Tupac stuff, he spoke real stuff.
Yeah, and that is true 100%. I also think too, that's the same thing Public Enemy was doing. That was reality rap too. We're speaking about white supremacy, how it's affecting black people in America. We have to speak in the black perspective because a lot of the white politicians don't know what they don't know what.
So do you think that helped people then listen to that's going through white supremacy and racism?
I think it helped them and the people who don't go through it, the white people who don't go through it too.
Well, how does it help them?
It helped them realize what's going on.
I like to think that, but
it helps at least like some who are really
put awareness to it, I guess.
Yeah, spread awareness.
Yeah, I like to say that. It's just
because white people don't go through what.
Well, I'm just saying that the reality of it is, I wish we were further along when we talk about white supremacy and racism and bigotry. I wish we were further along as a society, as a world, in the world, as far as that, and unfortunately we're not as far along as I wish we were, you know.
Yeah, and they try to put the blame on thrash metal music as well, and other heavy metal subgenres too, because they would speak about blunted reality too, but really in their own perspective, because they're into metal music, if that makes sense. Because even like groups like the Onyx, they took the energy of heavy metal and still spoke about.
So now when we talk about cultural representation, and people, you said the heavy metal people like the Onyx, right?
Yeah, they loved all
so are we saying when we say cultural representation, does that go beyond race?
Yeah,
because now they found something in common to, you know, hate on. Like we both don't like this particular thing.
Yeah, the things that go on around us, like we have to, you know, like I said before, we have to speak about these problems. Otherwise, like, who's gonna do it? Like, in our perspective, at least.
So culturally, do you think that we're banding closer together as a unit as far as humanity goes, or are we further apart?
I think we've been coming closer. I think we've been coming closer since the later 60s, when certain bands came out and some awareness was being spread, but we were slowly.
But then when you say 60s, when you say 60s now and going to the 70s, I think the forces that be pulled us back apart.
What do you mean?
Like, you go 80s and 90s, if we were banding together, we would be better right now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think, this is a small perspective, I think now we have more platforms we can speak our own now.
Yeah.
Before, the platforms were controlled by a select few that never wanted us to get together. But now people could do their own newscast, their own podcast, their own music. They could create their own and put the music out right away.
Following.
So I hope and pray that helps society move and be progressive in society.
Yeah.
Because everybody, even on social media, you see people being more open on. Even people being more open hating.
Yeah.
And being very rude. Just like you see more people opening up and banding together and saying, you know, people with different belief systems, believing in whatever. Because I think culturally, you got people that have families that believe in family structure.
Yeah.
You got culturally people that don't believe in families. They got their thing, and they'll have their own representation of whatever and however.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you before that I think you're turning into now. You can't even have genres of music no more. It's just if you like it or not.
Yeah, it's more if you like it or not. Now you can decide what you want to do and then gain your fan base off of that.
Yeah. But people that believe you and going back to culturally.
Yeah.
Because if you're a band that believes this,
you're gonna have fans.
Yeah, you're representing that exactly. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, if you are a representation of what they can relate to, they can sit back and think and be like, okay, they did it like this. Let me try it this way, and I could potentially, be on that level. But yeah, as far as speaking about the chaos going on in the world and speaking in our perspective of everything that's going on, that definitely works to spread awareness towards a lot of things, which is why I support it 100%. As even with artists today, certain artists today, and everything who actually have a message with what they say.
So would you say that's part of the cultural representation?
Yeah.
Because they have a same belief that you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I have to sort of follow a like-minded person like me, so that way I can learn from this person, like whichever, like whether it's my own mindset of what I think, or whether it's, even music. Even the music people I follow are the ones that I truly do respect, and the ones I try studying to create my livelihood. If that makes sense.
So cultural representation goes beyond race.
Yeah,
it goes so much deeper.
Yeah, and it can be about race though, but it just depends on like how far you're willing to go. But it does go beyond race, like more than many times.
Okay. Well, anything you want to plug for everybody? Tell everybody.
Follow me on my Instagram and my band's Instagram. First, my Instagram at Maximus Keys. If you can't spell that, you can type down Max Effects, like DOS Effects, and you can also follow my band at KOM Band Music on all social media platforms, from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also follow our YouTube page as well.
All right, and until next time, remember, you don't get out of life what you want, you get out of life what you expect.
Have a melting pot of different people of different cultures there.
Because when there's a certain stereotype that's automatically put onto you, I don't mind educating anybody just as long as they're not playing stupid.